Hi, welcome to Environmental Problems, an online class. I've offered this class for 15 some years since I was hired by NSU. Originally, it was a traditional lecture course, and I would have students drive to campus 3 days a week, and I would give them boring PowerPoint lectures about climate change, fossil fuel use, etc. And it seemed frankly hypocritical. And so several years ago I moved it to an online format so that students could take the class at home or at work and on their own schedule. And I've been generally happy with it. I do want to emphasize that this class is interactive. It's not a correspondence class where you send me emails and I enter grades in the grade book. Everything you turn in written-wise, you're turning in on the discussion board formats for your classmates to review, critique, comment on, reply to, and you have to do the same thing for your classmates. So it's an interactive class in that regard, and I value that. The interactive nature of it is part of why I have deadlines. So it's not the sort of class where you can do the whole class in the first 2 weeks or the whole class in the last 2 weeks, because that makes it really difficult for your classmates to interact with you because they may have different schedules. And so please pay attention to the schedule as to when you have to do different things. If you have questions about the schedule, ask them on the FAQ forum. I likely made mistakes. I make mistakes every time I offer this in terms of when is something due. And so one of your assignments for this week is to catch my mistakes in the syllabus and the schedule and point them out using, again, the FAQ forum. And that way I can address them for the class as a whole. So please use that. The other thing I want you to do today is to make an introductory post. It's actually a graded post for this class, and so please take it seriously, follow the guidelines, and get your introductory post in today or tomorrow. And there's an introductory quiz for practice purposes. It's pretty much going over the syllabus and stuff like that. For the rest of the class, our structures, we're going to read 3 books that I've chosen that are going to help us develop our knowledge of environmental problems. The first one is called The Canon by Natalia Angier. She's a science journalist for the New York Times. I'm using that one primarily to set a base point for understanding of scientific knowledge and process. This class counts as a gen ed class for biology, and so I feel an obligation to cover some of the basics of science. So that's the first one. And then for coming up, I think next week, is we have the kitchen chemistry activity, which should be really fun. And I hope you get excited about that and take it as a creative process. After that, we get to it's kind of grim. We're covering Collapse, a book by Dr. Jared Diamond, who teaches the same class at the University of California, Los Angeles. And frankly, it's grim. I like it as a book, but it's got major flaws. And one of your jobs as a critical reader is to identify some of those flaws. And then the final book also has flaws. It's called The Scarlet Macaw, and it is set in the area of Central America where I do my own wildlife research. And so it's a fun one for me in that I feel like I know the situation vastly better than the author does. And again, I enjoyed the book. It's well written, but it's got major flaws. And so I want you to read it critically. And so that's going to be the challenge towards the end. And then throughout the class, I want you to do reflective thinking. Does this make sense? And if you're not sure, do additional research. And that's one of the goals for this class. If you don't understand something, do research. Ask on our discussion board forums, use the internet, talk to your family members, your peers, etc. Because one of the skills I want to build for you is lifelong learning. Challenge, be critical, think about things. Does this make sense? Anyway, I'm going to finish up this video because I try to stop my videos at 5 minutes. As we speak, I'm on the beach in Oregon, where I grew up. As a boy, I was a commercial salmon fisherman right out here, and I would go out in a small boat and catch salmon to sell. The salmon industry collapsed when I was a young man, in part for natural reasons like an El Nino event like we had this past year, but partly also for environmental reasons. There's a major logging industry, and as the trees were cut in the rainforest here, silt washed into the creeks where the salmon bred and interfered with their ability to breed. And so what had been for 100 years a major industry, salmon fishing, it collapsed for a combination of natural processes on top of human-caused processes. And while I still love coming out here, the salmon fishing industry I grew up with is essentially nearly gone for those reasons. And so I feel that's significant. And also I like being on the Pacific Ocean because it helps tie in the whole world is connected with each other. The El Nino event in the Pacific Ocean has affected the weather in Oklahoma this winter to the benefit of, say, wheat farmers, for example. Anyway, I'm rambling on too long, so if you want to talk more about any of these things, let's use Blackboard. But given that I'm hitting up to 7 minutes, I think it's time for me to sign out and see you online. Bye-bye.